Hello friends, it's Kristine Vicente with Queen City Stamp Art, and today I'm back with a Sale-A-Bration demonstration. I'm going to be showing you one of the free items in the Sale-A-Bration catalog for July and August of 2022, and I'm going to give you a little bit closer look. This is the Silver and Gold 6x6 Designer Series paper, and it's free with a $50 purchase during July and August of 2022. It's all of the Sale-A-Bration items are while supplies last. So if you like this one, you're going to want to get your order in pretty soon, just to make sure you have access to it. I'm sure they have a pretty good supply, but you never know. And once they run out of these things, they don't replenish them. So this paper is fabulous. It's probably another one of the most versatile things in that catalog besides those note cards and envelopes I shared the other day with that Splendid Day video that I made. This is the Silver and Gold. These are the two patterns. So it's silver and gold, 12 sheets of each. So you get 24 sheets of 6x6 paper. There's 6 sheets of gold polka dots and gold stripes. And, gold stripes. And 6 sheets of silver polka dots and silver stripes. So 6 sheets of each pattern. And 12 sheets of gold, 12 sheets of silver. So it's really a great value, and it's a great little pouch of free paper. We're going to be using some of the gold to create the card for today. So I was thinking that this paper, you know, it is in the Sale-A-Bration catalog, and traditionally Sale-A-Bration during the summer focuses on the holiday catalog, the holiday mini. But the truth is, I mean, all of these products are pretty versatile throughout the year. You can use them for a lot of different cards that are not necessarily holiday cards. And so today we're going to be using some of this gorgeous paper to create a card using one of my old favorites called the Poppy Moments dies. So we're going to take this beautiful die set that's in the annual catalog. You can find this in the annual catalog on page 173. It's a standalone die set that creates gorgeous poppy flowers, and it has leaves, and then it has this really cool kind of background texture that you can punch into cardstock. And I'm going to be using these to create the card. And then the sentiment we're using is going to be from the Peaceful Moments Cling Stamp Set. This is also in the annual catalog on page 29. So if you're interested in these products, I just wanted to make sure you knew where you could find them. The sentiment panel that we're going to stamp on is this label shape, the stitch label from the Stylish Shapes dies. These are brand new in the annual catalog, and they're fantastic. This is a great little standard die set that everyone, I think, should have, just because it allows for a lot of versatility in terms of shape, and the stitching is really, really cute. It's a fun detail. So we're going to start today by using a soft seafoam base card, and it's just a normal side folding card. We're going to use a bit of this beautiful paper. I just cut a panel of this, and we're going to adhere this to a panel, a slightly larger panel of black, basic black, just like that. And then I'm going to do a little bit of stamping. I'm going to stamp out the sentiment onto this little strip here that I already previously, die cut. Just like that. And then we'll work on building that little poppy. So we would be using the poppy dies to create the poppy here. And so what I did was I went through my die cutting machine. I ran through my die cutting machine the 2 layers of poppy. And there's also 2 layers of leaves. So I did these leaves. And I did 2 different center portions of the flower. And I'll show you what transpired from that. I'm not going to bore you with running everything through the die cutting machine, but I ended up with all these great pieces. So what I did was I picked a light and dark, so I used Sweet Sorbet for the base and then Real Red for the top of the flower. And I'm just going to take some of my Mono Multi glue here, and I'm going to glue the flower together. And so I'm using my silicone mat because I get glue everywhere when I start using liquid glue, and this silicone mat really saves me from getting it all over my work surface. And I'm just using tiny dots of glue along the edges, and I'm going to use my tweezers to pick it up just because it's a little bit easier for me. And I'm going to layer this together. Just like this. Just have to angle it properly to get it to line up. There's a little bump here, and that's how I figured it out, but everybody has their own little tricks. So I'm just going to let that dry, and now that I've done this on my silicone mat, if some of the glue squeezed out, it's going to stick to this and not onto the paper and drive me crazy later. So I'm going to do the same thing with the little leaves. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of glue to the edges, just so that it'll stick down nice. I'll layer these up too. So whenever I get a new floral set that's very specific, like this is, you know, it's a poppy, definitely a poppy die set, I like to see the colors of the real plants. And I like to check to make sure that the leaves look right, because sometimes they get the leaves wrong, but in this case, they did actually get them right. So I was looking at poppies online, and I noticed that poppies grow on a very tall, skinny stem, and the foliage is actually closer to the ground than it is to the flower, where a lot of times with flowers, the foliage is right up against the flower. But in this case, it's actually closer to the ground. So the flowers stick up out of the ground on this really skinny stem, and all the little greenery is near the ground. So I wanted to try to kind of recreate something similar on my little card panel. So I'm going to bring my card panel back in, and I'm going to, I cut a little stem. Now the dies don't come with a stem, so I just cut a straight stem because it's fairly easy, and it actually is fairly authentic too. They have a very straight little skinny stem. So I just cut a little piece using my trimmer out of cardstock, and I'm going to lay this onto my card front, just like that. And then I'm going to place one of the leaves near the bottom. I'm going to do it just like this. And then I'm going to trim off that little stem that's part of the die, just like that. I'll trim that off. And then I'm going to save this other leaf for a little bit later, but I'm going to layer the flower on now, and I'm going to do it with dimensional adhesive because I want that to kind of pop up off the card. So I'll add some dimensionals, and it's coming together really nice. This die is so amazing. It really does create a wow when you look at it. And I'm just going to layer that on here like this. And then I'm going to layer up these little pieces. And so before I glue this down, I'm just going to place my thumb in the center, and I'm going to just push up on the little spiny things coming off this center of the flower. And this gives it a little bit of dimension. And then I'll add some liquid glue to the back and place that in the center of the poppy. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this one. I'm just going to kind of lift up on the little spines. And place some glue on the back. And now I'm just going to kind of push them up a little, like that. Now, of course, if I was going to mail this card, they would get flattened, but I really like how that looks. And then I have the banner here, and somehow I ended up getting some ink on it, so I'm going to have to use my little sanding paper and try and get some of that off, but I'm going to add it to the card for now, and I'll fix it later just to show you how this goes together. And I'm just going to kind of layer this over here, and then I'll add this second leaf, keeping the foliage low like that. And now that we finished with this part, we can add this to the base card. So, oh, one thing I was going to do as an embellishment, I'm going to take this little thing off, and as an embellishment, I was going to add this really pretty Simply Elegant trim. Now, this is still in the annual catalog, and I'm going to use this because the gold trim kind of mirrors the gold that's in the paper. So to add a little bit of an extra embellishment, I'm going to take a bit of this and make a bow, kind of a large bow, and I'm going to trim that off, And then I'm going to take the little piece that I had stamped, and I'm going to add a glue dot to the center of this. And just kind of put that here on the diagonal. And then flip this back over and add it to my card base. And I love how the cording is just such a pretty echo of the gold striping in this pattern paper. It's such a subtle detail, but it's so, it really brings the whole thing to life. And I'm just gluing this. I'm just going to center this panel on the front of my card, just like that. And then you end up with something that looks sort of like this. I'll take this one because it doesn't have that smudge of ink, but I love that. I love how it looks. I think it looks so pretty. And I love how the gold kind of echoes the stripes in the paper. And like I said, this paper is gorgeous for a lot of different themes, not just florals, but it is especially pretty with florals, especially if you add some gold gems or maybe a gold cording to the project. So anyway, thanks for watching today. And hopefully you'll add this little Sale-A-Bration item to your list and have some fun playing with this when it arrives. So thanks again.